Hey guys, welcome to another Complete Developer Raw, a live show with Will and BJ. Hey, there we are. Awesome. Look at us. How's it going, y'all? Let's see. What's going on with me? I got one of the best compliments ever last night. I was talking to my friend Alicia, who is an artist photographer, who's teaching me about photography and stuff. She runs the photography videography team at church, and we were talking about. I was giving her some photos that I'd taken, from the card on my camera, and we were talking about it, and she said one of the great things about me, the reason she accepted me onto the team is because I'm teachable, and that just meant like the world to me. I thought that was totally awesome. That is something I've been working on, is being more open to redirection and being teachable like that. So that was awesome. Um, Went up to Codeland this week. That was one of the best conferences I've ever been to. That was really cool. I know I've talked about it a lot. I really like the way that Saran worked with every single one of the speakers. It was a bit different. They had two tracks. You had a bunch of workshops. You either went to a workshop in the morning or the afternoon, so it like split the group into two. So you had like a couple of keynotes in the morning, and they were like 15 to 20-minute long keynotes, so they weren't like really extended. And then you either at that point you either went to a 2-hour workshop or you stayed in the main hall there and listened to talks. And there was about five or six of us did 15-minute talks. So my talk was only 15 minutes, but it was in front of 300 to 400 people. So
Nice.
that was really awesome. It was about my journey uh, through depression and things like that. It was very powerful. A lot of people came up to me after the talk and said some stuff about it, and said, told me their stories. I think it reached out and touched a lot of people. So it was really good. If you guys didn't get a chance to come up to New York for Codeland, I'll be giving that same talk. I believe it's September at Music City Tech here in Nashville. So it'll be a little bit of a longer talk. I'm going to go the full version and talk about helping people through things, whereas this was just very focused on my story. So all that said, it was a whirlwind trip. I flew up on Sunday and flew back on Tuesday. I got to spend Sunday afternoon up there, or yeah, um, and so that was quite nice. I kind of walked around the hotel I was staying at was in Tribeca, which is right near Soho, and I just walked down to the river and walked along the Hudson. Got some really awesome pictures. If you follow me on Instagram or social media, you can see those. And so it was a really cool trip. Though I was a bit frustrated on the trip back. Supposed to fly back. I was supposed to work on Tuesday. I My flight was at 6 a.m. I was supposed to get back to Nashville at 7:30, and I'd be home by about 8:30 or 9 and be able to get a full day of work in. Yeah. I got to the airport in New York at 4 a.m. So for those of y'all on Central Time, which is what I'm accustomed to, that would be 3 a.m. Um, yeah, found out my flight was delayed by 4 hours. They
Nice.
didn't notify me. They knew the
Of
night
course
before
not.
it was going to be delayed by 4 hours, and they did not notify me. So, yep. Uh, I think it's just guys with beards and long hair that they don't like. Me and Kevin Smith. If you don't know the airline I'm talking about, it's Southwest. So I will totally call them out on it. Yeah,
They've apparently gotten pretty bad about that here lately.
yeah.
So it'll be
Well, hey, I'll give them this. I will give them this. I called them out on Twitter, and I did get a voucher from them after that. So
so you can fly on there again and be late.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, sorry, we gave you food poisoning. Here's another steak. Uh,
Yeah. So what's going on with you, man?
just I've got a lot going on. I finished the book proofs sometime last week. I can't remember if it was before we got on the call or not. So you like look at it, you can see each page and all that kind of stuff. So it's like the
Cool.
final bits and pieces. And then I signed the paperwork to write another book.
Nice.
Because the plural of masochist is actually just better masochist. Um, so yeah. Um, anyway, it's going to be real interesting. I do have to have the first chapter of that one done by Tuesday next week.
Oh wow.
Um, so that's going to be a lot of work. I've got a fairly open weekend, so I'm hoping that I can move along efficiently, but it'll be entertaining. So that's the main thing I've got right now.
Well, that's awesome. Let's see. Podcast wise, not a lot is going on, guys. We're just sort of plugging along. We're about to start having. Well, you're a few weeks away from hearing it, but we are about to start having our audio externally edited. So getting all that set up with them, and I'm working with them to do that. So it's going to be really cool. I won't be doing it every week. That I originally thought, oh, this will free me up to do other things, and then I realized just how much other stuff I was already doing, and I'm like, this will free me up to not be stressed. Yeah, well, sleep or play video games or something. Like I just something so I can just relax. I mean, the only painting that I have done was for my presentation at Codeland. I'm like, I haven't painted. I force myself to practice my guitar. I love practicing, but I have to like be like, hey, I got 20 minutes. Let me go practice. Or dinner's cooking. Let me go practice because I don't have time otherwise. Because I'm just like go go go. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna free me up just to kind of live my life a little bit. And then with the semester starting in the fall, it'll just be nice having that freedom again.
Did you say freedom?
Freedom. Freedom. So that's what's going on podcast wise. On to our weekly topic now that we're doing. I kind of like these weekly topics.
Yeah. So we all fall to the temptation to procrastinate from time to time. Some of us more than others. If it doesn't happen often, it can be an occasional reprieve from life in general, but we still need to be able to recognize and avoid it when possible, especially when stuff is important. Here are a few tips for managing procrastination.
Yeah. Now, the first thing that you want to do is to identify the behavior or the behavior pattern that what you're doing that's causing you to procrastinate and figure out why you're doing it. I mean, if we've talked about this before, we have people ask us a lot, like, how do you guys get so much done? And we sit and we talk to them about what their life is like, what they do. And they're like, oh, well, I get off work, I go home, I watch TV, play with the kids, eat dinner, watch some more TV and go to bed. And it's like, well, your behavior is watching TV. You could be using that time to do other things. Why are you doing it? Is it because you need the mental break? Are you overstressed? Like, look at it and ask, what am I getting out of this? And how can I get that same thing without causing me to procrastinate on the things that I want to do?
Yeah, which kind of brings along the next thing, which is to reward yourself for completing tasks, especially difficult or annoying ones. I know you and I both kind of have that built in. Of course, I'm looking right here up into my right. I have like a ideal weekly calendar that I kind of laid out in Google, and it looks like I lost a real bad Tetris game. So I'm like, there's like a reward time in there that's like play Skyrim, and it's like on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next week when I won't be able to actually play Skyrim because I can look at it right now. I'm like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
but yeah, you want to kind of try to build those things in so that you're able to keep momentum. I think also sometimes too, you almost have to see the reward in the thing that you're doing.
Hmm. There's a bit of that. I know, like on Thursdays, because usually I've worked hard throughout the week, getting an episode ready or writing out the Facebook Live, plus the other pieces that I put into the show. And Thursday is when our episodes release. So all the work I've done on the episode that comes out that day is over with. I kind of reward myself Thursday nights, and after we get done recording, I go and I usually just watch a little TV, or I read something that's not technical, not business, like something for pleasure.
Yeah.
So another thing that I do is we've talked about love languages, and I'm a words of affirmation person. So I got a couple of people at work that I'll be like, dude, I just did this, and he's like, that's awesome, man. And just that little bit, I don't know why, but that little bit of encouragement, it just it gets me through it, man.
Yeah. And you definitely want to have that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next item, um, which you did some very interesting things with your numbering, but we'll leave that alone. Um, 1, 2, 4, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
This is what happens when you write them out and then you reorganize and then you
Yeah,
add another one.
I know. Well, like, the thing is trolling you is one of my built-in rewards on Thursdays. So I'm speaking my love language, which is trolling. Really.
Yes, that is his love language, y'all.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So you should create a list of items that you plan to accomplish. Now, that's something I basically live by. I live out of my Noseby account with my to-do list and all that stuff. And I mean, it's pretty well locked in. It really helps.
Oh, if Noseby ever went out of business, Will would be just like totally lost for.
I'd steal their source code.
I would say for at least a day or two until he got something else put back together. But yeah, don't take his list, man.
Yeah,
no, that's scary. I once hid him from him. It made him mad.
Yeah, I remember that day in college. That was I got even more than once.
Yes, he did. Yes. The next one: do the most difficult tasks on your list at your best time. So, if you're a morning person, then that's the time to do your most difficult thing. If you're a night person, that's the time to do it. If you're a midday person, if they exist, that's the time to do it. I tend to not be that way.
Yeah. And there's also certain times that certain things work well too. I've noticed, like I can do really hard, coding and stuff in the mornings, but writing in the late afternoon and evenings works great.
Yeah. That's interesting because I am not much of a morning person. And it's a matter not so much of morning as it is when I get up. If I'm about an hour or two after I get up, once I've had my coffee and I've kind of gotten rolling,
yeah,
I'm a steamroller. I'm just like, it takes me a little bit to get going. I'm like a diesel engine, it's a bit difficult to start up, but once I get going, I just go. And so like about an hour or two after I get up in the morning, I am just a powerhouse until about lunchtime. Then one of the benefits of working from home, I usually take a longer lunch and just sort of relax afterwards. And then I'll come back and I'll be like really gung-ho in the later afternoon. I used to do that. Now I've started doing stuff in the afternoon. So I like eat a quick lunch and then jump right back into it so I can get done early. But that's the way life happens these days.
Whereas I skip lunch and then eat dinner.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Another thing.
Oh. Sorry. So another thing you should do is, if you're motivated by social cues, is to get other people involved. So, be accountable to somebody. This doesn't really do a lot for me. I imagine it probably does more for you than it does for me. Because if people ask me, oh, did you get that thing done? I get annoyed.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask him, hey, if you say, hey, when are you going to have that done so that I can do this other thing? That's usually
Yeah,
the
that is
best one.
totally cool.
Yeah, that's usually the one I do.
Because now I know I'm helping somebody plan ahead, and I like for people to plan ahead because that means that my stuff doesn't catch on fire because I'm waiting on them.
Yeah, yeah. He's the opposite of Ron Swanson. I've been watching Parks and Rec lately.
Clearly.
I legitimately thought about looking up the scotch that he drinks and bringing some over next time we hang out.
I'm always a fan of scotch.
I know. That's why I thought about that. All right, final one. Create a quick first draft of what you are doing. That kind of gets rid of that blank screen. And then you can modify it from there. Will and I have this pre-built into our show notes. So we have a not really a template that we use.
Yeah, it's like Markdown, except it's in a text file because we
tried using Markdown and it didn't.
Yeah,
work
something
well.
happened weird. I forget what it was, but
yeah, it was wonky. So it's like the pseudo Markdown in a text file, but and we do the same thing for our Facebook Lives and for all of our other stuff, but we have templates that we use. And that way, when we jump in, it's not, all right, I got to create this thing from scratch. It's, okay, I got to fill in the episode body information. Let me start with that. And what I'll do is I'll go and I'll get my high level thoughts down, and then I'll start filling those in and moving things around. And it's a bit different from Will's process. If you ever saw us mid process, we're very different.
Because like you do a breadth first search on your ideas, and I do a depth first.
Yes, that is a great way of describing it. Yeah, that is a really good
I've
way
watched
of
you do
describing
it too, and it's like, what is he? What? I mean, like I'll do like the top level outline points because I've got to organize those. But other than that, then it's like deep drill on every one of them.
I'll do top level, and then I'll do the next level for each one, unless I get an idea, and then some will be drilled down and some won't, because it'll be like I'll be doing that, and I'll be like, ooh, that's a really good idea. Let me work on that real quick so I don't forget it.
It's kind of like watching a squirrel write a book.
Yes, it is like that. Which is really funny because you'd think that I would be able to use a mind map really well, and those things drive me crazy, whereas they help Will. So yeah. All right, on to our questions.
Okay, so the first one is, why do most software developers fail to answer algorithm questions even though they have a computer science degree? Well, that's because most software developers really aren't having to use the algorithms that much in their day job. It'd be like asking a doctor about organic chemistry. It's like, yes, they went through that. And yes, it's the underpinnings of a lot of the stuff that they do, but they're going to have to think a minute at the very best. And they probably aren't going to remember the exact molecular structure of aspirin.
Maybe. Depending on the doctor. Some of them are nerds. Well, most of them are. I went to school with a lot of them. But, and I am one. Well, not doctor, but I am a nerd. I'll take that. No, what I was going to say is I like how you said they went through organic chemistry, because it made me think of that song line, if you're going through hell, just keep on going.
Yeah.
Because that's organic chemistry for you.
What is the chirality of the downward spiral? Man, that's bad memories there. So that's really what the deal is, right? Like, you're using stuff that's on top of this. Like, we don't typically do linked lists ourselves.
Yeah.
That's just not a thing that most developers have to do in their day jobs. Like, they have to deal with Angular.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why. Really, it's the current state of developer interviews is awful. It is probably one of the dumbest, most time-wasting, frustrating piles of crap on the planet. And this is an example of that, because let's test something that has really nothing to do with what you're going to be doing here. Nothing to do with anything that you've done before, except for in school. So, yeah, just getting off my soapbox. I got a book coming out next month about development interviews, just as an FYI.
And I'm just sitting here enjoying the slight delay in the camera when I move my eyes around. So
I was wondering what you were doing.
Yeah, there's for y'all that are
Well,
watching me, there's a small delay, and I'm just kind of enjoying that. I don't know why it's so fascinating, but it might just be the lack of
well,
sleep
I was
this
just
week.
looking at you, and initially I was like, "Has he gone mental?" But I'm like, "But I already knew that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, next question. Is software development a peaceful job? Not if you work with Will. All right, I totally picked this question so I could say that. I saw
I
that and I'm
figured.
like, like that was the first thing that popped in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, if you work with Will, you'll get erasers thrown at your head. I mean, you know.
I'm not that bad at work, for the most part. I mean, there's the occasional smart aleck comment or something like that, and I've insulted the mother of various people who wrote the Visual Studio UI pieces that hang up on me sometimes. Um,
Yeah. Uh, so for the most part, yes, it kind of depends on what you do in software development. I mean that's a very broad spectrum.
yeah,
Um, and so there's a lot of things you can do, some of which are more or less stressful than others. Really, it's more of a personality thing. If you're gonna get stressed, you're gonna get stressed even at a peaceful job.
yeah, and you're going to take it home and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, that's the other side of it. Like if you can actually disconnect from work, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
okay. The minute you lose that, you're probably not going to be okay. And it really doesn't matter if you're working for a gaming company, that's like super stressful, or those kind of things, or you're working for a big corporate,
Yeah.
where it's maybe not so stressful and you're not understaffed and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. It. I mean, there's a lot of different types of jobs in software development, so you can find very peaceful ones. Um, you can find jobs, and we know people that have done this where they learned a technology, and they just stuck with it their entire careers.
Yep.
They're some are midway through their career, some are getting close to retirement, and they only learned one thing, and then they just floated from job to job, maintaining things that were built in that one thing.
Yep.
And so you can if you find that peaceful, I would find that very stressful.
Yeah.
But if I find peace in I don't want to say uncertainty, but I
It's
find
almost
peace.
like chaos. Like I think you and I almost have to have a certain level of chaos to thrive, because
Mhm.
if stuff is just repetitive, we don't hold up very well. Like that
I was-
stresses both of us out because we wonder when it's going to suddenly
yeah,
stop.
I find joy is what I should, maybe not peace, but I find joy in solving problems, in solving like new interesting problems. It's one thing if it's like, all right, solve the same problem over and over again. But if like new and interesting things, learning new things, and you can get a peaceful job in software development, you can get a highly stressful job in software development, you can get anywhere in between. So I really wouldn't say it is or isn't a peaceful job. It depends on what you're doing.
And with whom?
Yes, that's
Because I've
very true.
also worked at companies that their stuff, it should have been very low stress, and because of the management structure, it was not.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. So next week we have an episode coming out called User Personas. When a company begins building a new product, the development team usually either has expertise in the industry or they have easy access to people that have that expertise. As software companies mature, many of the employees, including the developers themselves, testers, and designers, sorry, I scrolled and moved it, find themselves further and further removed from the daily lives of those who use their software. Not only does this make it more difficult to onboard new employees,
The air conditioning just kicked on and like blew
oh,
down my back.
I'll,
Sorry.
I'll like out of the corner of my eye, I like see movement, and I'm like, what? Anyways,
Sorry. I didn't mean to be twitchy.
oh,
I
that's
just wasn't
fine.
expecting that.
All right, guys. In this episode, we discuss user personas and one approach that is intended to reduce the pain associated with this process. So check it out. It's an interesting episode that we think you guys are gonna like. We're gonna hop off here and record another interesting episode. Uh, yeah, actually, yeah, this is gonna be a really good one. I'm looking forward to this one. Will
Yeah.
wrote it. It's something he's been talking about for a while, so I'm kind of excited about jumping into this one. That's gonna be cool. Couple of shout outs. Let's see. Let me move this over here. So I'm trying a new screen layout, and
That's okay. I didn't even have Facebook open
oh yeah,
for some reason.
So let's see. We got Josh Kilgore. What's up, Josh? Eric Wright and Lena Burns. What's up, y'all? Howdy. So shout out to y'all that are watching us live. We're going to hop off here and get on with a new recording. We'll talk to y'all. We'll be here next week. It's been kind of awkward. Oops. Just about covered you up with the outline. It's been a little bit off just because of my traveling, and I think things settle down. So we should be around next week. We'll talk to y'all later.